Hello, I'm John Park, President of Leadership Synergies, and today's topic is how associations can implement enterprise-wide strategic initiatives. And the first part of the conversation is getting the executive teams together and identifying the characteristics in two key categories: your definition of value and your definition of effort. If you look at this matrix, you will see high value, low effort. Those are really great initiatives. It enables you to run your association very efficiently and effectively. And then in the upper right-hand quadrant, there's high value, high effort. It takes more effort, but these can still be good things. In the lower left-hand quadrant, we have low value, low effort. These can still be good things, but they just may not be as high a priority, maybe not enterprise-wide. And then in the lower right-hand category, we have high effort, low value. You should not do these things. So associations need to get their executive teams together to identify value and effort. So let's do that now. In the next slide, you will see a common definition from executive teams of the components of value. Let's take a look at some of these things. I'd like you to pay particular attention to a few key areas. One is aligning any strategic initiative with your strategic plan. It sounds like common sense, but many associations do things that don't necessarily tie to their strategic plan. The second thing is the opportunity to think outside the box and in unpredictable ways, creative ways, innovative ways. An example might be this other item here on the second side, which is I got something I didn't even know I needed. Sometimes members don't even know they need something, and when an association creates or provides through a strategic initiative that solution, it can really bring members closer to the community and more in touch with the value proposition of the association. And then down below, does it feed the value proposition? So is the initiative something that actually really drives how your association is viewed in the marketplace as unique and special and different? Now let's look at effort. Now defining effort is different. It's the time and money and people and energy necessary to bring a strategic initiative to life through strategic planning and through implementation. So look at some of these things in this slide having to do with effort, and executive teams come up with these things. And I'd like to pull out a couple of specific areas. One is the effort necessary for the product or the offering to achieve maturity. This is an exciting area because staff members who are looking at working on things that really make a difference over a period of time see the arc of a product maturity, and they see their work in the implementation. So that's a really exciting area of effort. And the second area I'd like to call out is volunteer cooperation. Associations rely on volunteers to get the work done. And if your strategic initiatives get volunteers excited to the point where they want to not only volunteer their money, but they also want to volunteer their time, then you get something really amazing because you get volunteers to be the workforce to bring the strategic initiative to life. After your executive team and your staff identifies strategic initiatives, let's say they come up with a list of 10 strategic initiatives, you have to have some kind of filtering process in order to shrink that down to a manageable number to be able to implement. You can't implement everything. So some things have to be cut, and the best way to do that is through a prioritization exercise. And I like to keep things simple when I work with groups. So I give everybody an imaginary $100 bill. We list the 10 items up on a flip chart. I ask them to go over to the flip chart and spend their $100. They could spend all $100 on one initiative, or they could spread it out over many initiatives until they've used up their $100. And everybody participates in the exercise. And very quickly, you can have people prioritize the top two things. So in this slide, I call this the harvest. It's harvesting what's most important to the executive team of the organization. So on this slide, you'll see two things that they rated the highest. These other things are really awesome things too, but these two, in this particular case, the executive team felt were most important to the long-term success of their association. So let's look at these two things. One is a comprehensive strategy to use data and research to create proprietary content. Associations want their own content, and they want to own that content so they can sell it and make money, and they can create differentiation in the marketplace. They're the only place for that kind of content, for example. And then the second highest rated item here is create a completely digital presence, a digital community. And lots of associations want this because they want to be able to appeal to new members all over the United States and perhaps all over the world. So the idea of a digital community is something really exciting, and it allows you to not have so much paperwork. You can actually have it in digital format, which allows you to have a totally different way of distributing the content and having people access the content based on their needs, even from their homes, for example, or offices, or wherever. And so in this case, they've named these two items as the top two initiatives. So when implementing enterprise-wide solutions within associations, there is a process that you should follow. I'm going to walk through these process steps. You can see them on the slide. The first is setting the criteria for value and effort. And associations are not all the same, so the executive team should do that themselves through an exercise in order to be able to identify what's really valuable and what is your definition of effort. And the second area there is harvesting those opportunities, prioritizing them, really whittling them down so you can put a disproportionate amount of time, money, and energy into a few things that will have big long-term impact. The third is to score those opportunities, and in this particular case, they narrowed it down to those two I mentioned. And then after that, you have to pressure test the idea, and you do that through business planning. And here's a slide with some business planning steps so you can understand commonly how association executive teams go about implementation. And finally, you have to begin implementation and have a good built-out business plan with metrics of success so you can measure that, preferably from a quantitative standpoint, numbers. And that way you have a process to follow for implementing enterprise-wide initiatives. You can do this with your team. You need a whiteboard or a flip chart, but you can facilitate these conversations yourself. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, then please subscribe. And if you have topics that you'd like to suggest, maybe we'll make a video based on something you suggest. Thanks for watching.